I'm an old school mechanic, and many people don't understand why I don't like electric vehicles. They think that just because EVs are cars, that I should automatically love them too. But here's the thing, EV technology just isn't ready at this very moment. Today we're looking at EV driving range. That's one of the top things on consumers' minds when they're considering an electric vehicle. So here's a question you need to ask yourself. How much driving range do you really need in your everyday life? Today I'll help you see how much range you personally need. Let's kick this off by looking into the top 5 EVs with the best driving range. We'll start with the good, then work up to the best. At number 5, we got the 2022 Mercedes EQS sedan. The EQS has an official EPA-ready range of up to 350 miles. At number 4 is the 2022 Tesla Model X. A 2022 dual-motor, all-wheel drive Tesla Model X would cost you more than $126,000. What that price gets you is the most powerful and quickest acceleration from any SUV. In fact, that claim makes Tesla Model X Plaid Edition the highest performing SUV ever built. How much driving range do you suppose the EV will give you? Well, the 2022 Tesla Model X has an official EPA rated driving range of up to 351 miles. The third best EV when it comes to driving range is another Tesla, but this time it's the 2022 Tesla Model 3 Long Range. We're talking a driving range of up to 358 miles. In just 15 minutes, the Model 3 can recharge up to 175 miles of range, and it can reach a top speed of 162 miles an hour. Not that anyone ever needs to drive that fast. I'm usually not a Tesla fan due to lack of craftsmanship and quality. But general design-wise, I do have to say the Model 3's all-glass roof that extends from the front to the rear of the car is a nice feature. Zooming up to number 2 spot is another Tesla. That spot goes to the 2022 Tesla Model S with a driving range of up to 405 miles. Tesla says that they specifically designed the Model S for efficiency. Tesla also claims that the Model S is the most aerodynamic production car on Earth due to specific design details like the exterior surface of the car. So what's the price of the most aerodynamic production car on Earth? You'll have to decide whether its driving range and aerodynamics are really worth the $105,000 that a 2022 dual-motor all-wheel drive Tesla Model S will cost you. And flying to the number 1 spot for driving range is the 2022 Lucid Air Dream Edition. At this moment, it's the longest range, fastest charging EV in the entire world. We're talking of a range of 520 miles, and you can get up to 300 miles of charge in as little as 22 minutes. Now, this car's luxury and the price point isn't surprising for its class. The base price for the Air Pure is $87,400. And if you decide to go to the Lucid Air Dream Edition, you'll be looking at a jaw-dropping price tag of $169,000. Some Lucid Air trims are already being delivered, while others, like the Lucid Air Sapphire, are only expected to hit the market next year. But look, right now electric cars are the rage. But all EVs, no matter how cool or popular, share one common problem. And that problem lies in their batteries. It all traces back to just the lithium-ion batteries in most EVs. Today, lithium-ion batteries are everywhere. Laptops, smartphones, and even game controllers are just some of the everyday things that are powered by lithium-ion batteries. But here's where the problems start. So you want to add more energy to your EVs. Well, lithium-ion batteries have been around for so many years that to make any new advancements with them, researchers have to put in twice the amount of work. With every year that passes, the amount of time and effort it'll take to invest in lithium-ion battery efficiency only increases. So the only solution to giving more energy to your EV is to add more battery cells. But that comes with a whole host of problems on its own. Batteries are heavy. That's why EVs, by default, weigh more than conventional gas-powered cars. So imagine adding more batteries to your already heavy EV. Well, obviously, your EV will only get heavier. Well, now you created another problem because the more weight you add to a vehicle, the more energy it takes to balance it out, and that affects the battery capacity. And here's another problem. The heavier an object, the harder it is to stop once it starts moving. So adding more lithium-ion batteries means your EV brakes will also need an upgrade. And even then, there's also the possibility of other potential safety issues that may need to be addressed due to the added weight. All of this is to say just adding more batteries isn't a simple solution. It's like having a health issue and a doctor gives you a pill. The pill alleviates some symptoms, but its side effects create a host of other problems of their own. That's why researchers have been trying to create new and alternative batteries to power EVs. Now there are some new batteries on the block. There are basically 2 main advancements that many expect will increase the efficiency of the next generation of batteries. The first advancement has to do with better integration of batteries with EV structures. And second has to do with replacing inert structural parts of the battery with materials that can hold and then distribute a charge. This in effect eliminates the dead space in those batteries. Right now, assembling a battery involves placing cells and modules modules, then connecting those modules together into packs. But here's the problem. Doing that can leave a lot of empty space inside the battery. To use this empty space more efficiently, researchers are trying to build battery packs that consist of 100% active material, so that every single part of the battery pack can store and release energy, and there's no dead, useless space inside. There's a Chinese automaker called BYD. They're pioneering a cell-to-pack system with their blade cells. If the cell-to-pack system proves to be all that BYD claims it to be, it could eliminate dead battery pack space completely. Right now, EV batteries usually line the floor of an EV, and in areas like underneath the center console and behind the rear seats, these EV batteries are also double-stacked. Spacing like this is what gives some of the top EVs their impressive range, but such EVs are usually the extremely high-end cars, like the Lucid Air Dream, for example. Yet, despite its impressive range, the Lucid Air Dream can only manage up to 520 miles, which isn't bad for EVs. But if more companies were to adopt BYD's new battery principles, we'd see EVs break through the 600-mile range barrier. EV makers are also working towards developing battery cells that are lighter yet more energy dense, and that's supposed to improve driving range as well. While EVs with 600-mile ranges would be a major step forward to the EV industry, it really gets me wondering, how much range do you really need in an EV anyway? Well, the answer to that question really depends on the type of driver you are. You see, many Americans are used to driving on a full tank of gas for about a week or so before filling back up at the nearest station in 5 minutes. General consumers like me can easily get range anxiety if you were to own an EV with low driving range. You're regularly going to wonder if your car will run out of juice before you reach your destination and strand you. And of course, the worst nightmare is to get stranded in the middle of nowhere. You'd think anything below 700 miles of range just doesn't make sense. But realistically, does an EV really need 700 miles of range? Well, the short answer is no. It's true gas-powered cars are convenient. You can drive for miles and miles in a gas-powered car, fill your tank right back up in a few minutes. But when's the last time you drove 700 miles without stopping? Or 500 miles? Or even 300 miles straight? According to the U.S. Department of Energy, the number of EVs that offer at least 300 miles of range has a massive spike since 2016. And from 2021 to 2022, the number of EVs that offer at least 300 miles of range has tripled. It all comes down to the belief that the more range an EV has, the better. It's more convenient for sure. But in reality, it's not really necessary when you compare it to usage behavior. Did you know that back in 2011, when the Nissan Leaf first hit the roads, it had a measly EPA range of 73 miles? Now that's laughable compared to what we see today. Nissan's rationale was that the average daily commute was less than 35 miles. So all you need is one overnight charge, you'll be good for the next day. When it comes to how much range you realistically need, you gotta ask yourself this question. How much do you personally drive in a day? Here's the thing. The average American drives 14,263 miles a year. That comes out to 1,188 miles per month, which equates to 40 miles a day. Looking at those stats, it looks like the Nissan wasn't too far off. You just have to charge overnight every night, much like how many Americans charge their smartphones every night. Another deciding factor is how much range you really need has to do with how long you park your car. If your car is usually parked overnight, which is the most consumers, by the way, then you probably won't need high range in your EV. Another deciding factor is if you even have a garage. If you live in an apartment in a dense city, you most likely park on the street and you don't have a dedicated garage. And this means charging an EV just got a whole lot more difficult. On top of that, there's a critical lack of public EV charging infrastructure right now across the nation. Public charging stations cost more than at-home charging, which can be a real hassle. The average Tesla that's plugged in overnight takes 8 to 10 hours to recharge, so that if you have time to spare, you can also spare a few less driving range miles. Now, the question about range you personally need is actually really important to know. It can end up saving you big bucks. Here's what I mean. If you just automatically assume that you need as much range as possible, it's going to cost you big time. Around 5 or 6 years ago, battery cost made up half of the total cost of an EV. Today, it's closer to around a third of the cost, but it's still a huge chunk of the cost. So why spend all your hard-earned cash on hundreds of miles of range if you personally don't need it based on your driving habits and circumstances? There's also another disadvantage to buying an EV with the capacity you don't even need. A bigger battery means longer charging time. Obviously, no one is a fan of that. And here's the next question to consider. How many long highway trips do you take? And just how long are they? If you're the type to pack up and take a long family road trip a few times a year, you'll need a lot more range than the average commuter. One study found that the average EV commuter ends up saving around $600 a year by driving electric. In the study, driving electric ended up costing $485, while driving a gas-powered car cost $1,117. And 4 years after that survey rate, gas price jumped up, which means the cost was even higher. But if you're driving your EV more than normal because of big trips, that electricity cost is going to go up big time. In that case, it makes more sense, cost-wise, to simply rent a gas-powered car on your trip and leave your EV at home. Today, more than 50% of American households own 2 or more cars. So if you're among that group of Americans, your best bet, honestly, is to own 1 EV and 1 gas-powered car. But now you tell me, what's the minimum range you're comfortable with in an EV? Please share by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.